A rare signal has just occurred on Bitcoin. We've seen 9 of these going back to 2020. 7 of them coincided with precise bottoms on Bitcoin, leading to incredibly strong returns looking forward. 2 of them, not as much. As I'm going to show you in this video, we think that the signal we're seeing today is going to prove to be a successful signal for Bitcoin. And I'm going to share our exact trading strategy at Bravos Research for this incredible asset. These signals are based on this chart right here that weighs in metrics from the futures, options, and perpetuals market. The signal triggers every time that this indicator touches this green line. It's essentially telling us that Bitcoin traders have reached an extreme state of panic when taking into account the various betting markets that exist for Bitcoin. As the saying goes, you should buy when others are fearful. And that's what this signal is meant to represent. And that's why in most cases, this is a successful signal for Bitcoin. There are a couple of exceptions, however, right here in 2022. Despite extremely fearful traders, Bitcoin actually continued to trend lower, declining by an additional 60 to 70% following the readings. And this makes sense. Just because traders are fearful doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to have the right conditions for Bitcoin to move higher again. If we have the same market conditions as 2022, for example, it could be Bitcoin is actually just starting out a brand new bear market. So in order for us to establish that this is going to be a successful signal, it means we need to be experiencing radically different conditions to what we had in 2022. And as I'm going to show you, that's exactly what we have. By the way, we're currently doing an exclusive campaign with our crypto exchange partner, Bitunix. This is a secure crypto exchange with their ratio of reserve funds exceeding the total user holdings. They have a platform that executes extremely rapid trades. They have plenty of liquidity for large traders and have an excellent customer support. We're currently doing an exclusive campaign for you guys with Bitunix right now that rewards you with cash prizes if you deposit money on their platform and trade. If you deposit $2,000 and trade, you'll get a free $400. One of the defining characteristics of the 2022 Bitcoin bear market was that the US dollar index was rising significantly during that period. Throughout Bitcoin's price history, every time that the US dollar index rose, it coincided with a bear market on Bitcoin. But the US dollar wasn't the only headwind to Bitcoin in 2022. At the same time, you had rapidly rising oil prices and also rapidly rising interest rates. From a macro standpoint, the US dollar, oil prices, and interest rates are all variables that have a huge influence on financial markets and the economy. When these components rise, it means financial conditions are tightening, or in other words, liquidity is going down. It also has a direct negative impact on economic growth. For example, higher oil prices have a huge impact on the cost of living, which squeezes the consumer and reduces consumer spending. A rising US dollar makes goods that are produced in the United States less competitive, making the manufacturing sector slow down and so the economy. And higher interest rates makes borrowing more difficult for people and businesses, which also leads to lower growth. It's very rare that you see all 3 of these things happening at the same time. That's exactly what happened in 2022, which is why Bitcoin dropped by 80%. This is what the US dollar has been doing since the start of 2025. This is what oil prices have been doing, and this is what interest rates have been doing. All of them, in aggregate, have been declining. In our opinion, a falling dollar, falling oil, and falling interest rates are providing the right conditions for markets and the economy to remain strong, which is a positive for Bitcoin. So that's the positive. Of course, on the negative side, we have seen the US stock market drop as a result of concerns around tariffs, and that's exactly what's been driving down Bitcoin. But if we replace the S&P 500 with the German stock market instead, we see that it has actually been melting up recently. Now, some of this has been driven by optimism around defense spending in Germany, but to us, this melt up tells a story of global economic resilience right now, not one of an economic recession. Bitcoin is essentially being repressed by the pessimism around tariffs. You could argue there was a similar divergence in late 2022 when the German stock market soared, when Bitcoin actually made a new low as FTX, a major crypto exchange, went bust. Ultimately, that divergence was resolved with Bitcoin catching back up to the German stock market. So is it possible that once the uncertainty around tariffs clears up, that Bitcoin can begin rallying, catching up to global stock market indices? That is our base case right now. We're not looking for a lengthy bear market in crypto like in 2022. We believe institutional money will continue to push Bitcoin higher as long as the economy remains resilient, which again we think is the case right now. That being said, just because we're optimistic doesn't mean we think that it's going to be a V-shaped recovery. From a technical standpoint, Bitcoin just experienced a false breakout above a major line of resistance. False breakouts are not particularly bullish technical patterns, and right now Bitcoin is hanging on by a thread to this very important line of support. So Bitcoin is currently in what we call no man's land, between heavy resistance and heavy support. We think Bitcoin would be a major buying opportunity at around $68,000 to $70,000. We'd be loading up on a bunch of setups that are on our radar right now. If we see Bitcoin moving back above $90,000, however, it would make this breakdown a false breakdown and open the door up for a resumption of the bull market on Bitcoin, with the next stop at about $120,000. You can get access to all of our trades on the crypto market by signing up to our crypto service. We had some pretty incredible results in February of 2025, with 21 winning trades and just 5 losses, with a very strong overall performance. This is despite the decline in cryptocurrencies that we've been experiencing. We're picking the right crypto, we're shorting at the right moments, and overall having a very defensive and meticulous strategy to provide returns for our clients. We work day in, day out to make sure our clients are as profitable as possible. If you're interested, click the link down below and sign up.